Hey y'all, welcome back to Dots and Beyond. I am Beth. I just got back from a trip to Denver. We are going to go ahead and document that in my Weekend Wanderluster Journal for my short trips. So let's go ahead and get started. Since this is the first trip that I am documenting in this journal, we're going to recap what I set up before. I will link this setup video in the cards as well as the show notes if you're interested in looking at those. I did bring this journal with me, but I have yet to put my name, email, phone number in here. It didn't leave the hotel room. I will probably get that put in there, and then of course stick a sticky note on it anytime that I need to show it to y'all as we look through. And then I did date it because the day that I left and arrived in Denver from Little Rock was November 3rd, and then we will end date on whatever the last trip is that we document in here. And I just have no idea how many pages I'm going to take per trip. It's looking like a minimum of a spread per day, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. This was why short trips are good for you, my wish list of other places here in the States I would like to go. I did draw a gold line here from Little Rock to Denver on my Road to Nowhere map, so that one is documented here in this journal. This is my Arkansas to-do list. This is specifically all of the state parks in Arkansas. And then I have some waterfalls on this side to coincide with the Arkansas list. Now I did start a reading list. I wanted to read a book from every place that I was visiting, or that was set in every place that I was visiting. And I had purchased this Rock Chick book by Kristen Ashley. Y'all, I DNF'd that book on page 10. That was We'll talk about it a little bit more in my reading wrap-up for November. And then this is my packing list, and then the cover page for my getaways, and we can jump right into Denver. And it has been so long since I kept any kind of a travel journal that I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to do this, right? Just wasn't quite sure what I wanted it to look like. So I had already created this boarding pass for myself. I have now put the dates in here. I had not done that when we set it up. And then I've started journaling. But I've left myself some space to put in some printables. And what I did was keep a fairly detailed log in my Apple Notes app. Now you can do this in any app of your choice. I could have put it in Notion. I could have put it in Evernote if you're someone who uses Evernote, a Google Doc, whatever. Just kind of in lulls in the day, I would sit down and just bullet point down what we had done so far, because I have a notoriously bad memory now. And I just thought, I'm going to forget all of these little bits and bobs and that sort of thing. So I would write down places that we went. I would write down what I ordered off of menus. And that way, in this digital age, I could go back and actually look at those menu items and write down what was in them, from drinks to omelets to any of those sorts of things. I could grab the logo from the restaurant. I did keep receipts, and then I thought, I'm just going to go online and grab the logos for these places. And that's where I kind of decided that I wanted to do a combination of my journaling of my trip and putting in some pre-designed in Canva collages. But I do have two piles of things next to me. I have some, if I can pick it up, I have some ephemera from a shuttle wrist thing to my hotel key cover to a day pass on the rail, different things. The Denver Art Museum, this was a sticker you had to wear in the museum, and I just slapped it on the back of the receipt from the art museum, so I'm going to cut that out to also put some ephemera in here. The other thing I have done is made those collages, and what I have discovered on this trip to Denver, because it has been years since I have had a proper vacation, and I've always known that I quote-unquote want to travel like a local, so to speak. And other than the Queen concert, we had nothing specifically planned out. And we ended up at the arts almost every night. And it's pretty much going to explain my personality in so many different ways as we go through this. So November 3rd, we flew out of Little Rock to Denver. I did screenshot my boarding passes from my phone because I did connect the apps for the flights that we were taking to my phone and then add them to my Apple Wallet so I could just screenshot it. We went to Denver on Frontier and we came back on United, and I am just gonna stick these. Can I really read those? No, it's teeny tiny. I could have made it bigger, stuck it in her larger, but I don't really need to see what flight numbers and things I was on for a trip. I'm gonna use my Tombow tape runner. I do not have a pink cartridge in here right now. I have a blue cartridge in here right now, and the blue cartridge is permanent. Once I get these stuck in, I really have to know that that's where I want it. I finally bought some replacements for the pink that I could pop in and out of here, and I'm just gonna try to get this blue used up, because I bought the blue one time when there was no pink available at Michael's, the day that I was shopping at Michael's. So we're gonna see if we can't use this up in this setup, but I'm gonna go ahead and stick our 2 trip to Denver here and our return trip to Denver there. Okay, see, and we're not gonna be super fancy about it. We're just gonna stick it in there. I do have some washi tapes with me that are also Archer and Olive washi tapes. I had set this up with some older Archer and Olive stuff that I had. I figured I'm just gonna go ahead and use this Desert Mountain washi tape. I realize this is far more Arizona or New Mexico than it is Colorado, but I do have my Colorado mug, so pay homage to Colorado with the mug. And I'm going to use this, and then this also coordinates. I've had these washis forever. I can't even remember what sub box they came in. Somebody else would have to tell me. But so we're going to stick some things in here with washi tape as well. So we got to Denver, and we went from the airport to Union Station. We ended up spending a lot of time in Union Station. We just did that with little train paths, which I just thought I'll stick in there where I can flip it up and look at it, or look at what's underneath it. And we'll just do that with a little piece of washi tape. And tuck that right in there. And then, whoop. Yeah, I wondered how sticky this washi tape is going to be. We're going to find out. Anyway, there it is. I'm going to give it a little bit room to breathe right there. It'll flip up. And a little bit of room to breathe right there. So it will flip. That may or may not hold. I may have to make a bigger piece. But for now, I think it's going to work. Anyway, we got to Denver way earlier than we could possibly check into our hotel. So we hung out at Union Station for a little bit. Had some drinks. Tried to decide what we wanted to do Friday night. And the friend that I was traveling with, she said, well, there's some kind of EDM concert at Red Rocks, and I think you have to go to a concert at Red Rocks if you're in Colorado. We didn't think we were going to have decent weather, and it was in the high 60s and the 70s every day. It was glorious. In fact, we got too hot. She was like, but EDM's not my thing, electronic dance music. And I was like, well, I probably don't know any EDM artists either. And then I looked up who was playing at Red Rocks, and it was Deadmau5. It was like, oh, the EDM artist that I probably know anything by at this point in my age. And I was like, well, shit, we're gonna go. And so I bought the tickets to Deadmau5. She bought the tickets for a shuttle that you can take from Union Station out to Red Rocks so that you don't have to drive. And that is what this little shuttle band was for. And then I have created this little collage of our time at Red Rocks. And I do have some pictures of us that I am going to add into my journal, but I don't want to include those publicly for the people that I was traveling with, or the friend that I was traveling with, or any of the people that we met in Denver. So those are for other pages farther on where I can add those pictures in. But I made this collage of Day of Deadmau5 at Red Rocks. This is a picture of the rocks where they were projecting things on. My son Kenny is a fan of Deadmau5, and I waited until we were there and took this picture and texted it to him, and then of course I got back in all caps, Deadmau5, question mark, question mark, question mark. He was trying to figure out how we went to Denver for Queen. And here I was at Dead Mouse. But the Red Rocks Museum's got some really cool stuff. These are concert posters from previous concerts. I was born in 1974, so I took a picture of all of the artists that performed at Red Rocks in 1974. I thought that would be fun. And then this above it said just who has performed here. And then this isn't the greatest picture. I'm probably going to print one of these out using my photo printer. But here is the concert stage. We were way up at the top. This is the city of Denver. And then the moon started to rise in the background. You can't make that stuff up. It's just a perfect night at Red Rocks. And we got to see Dead Mouse. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this in here. I did also look up the full set. So I have written down the full set. These are his opening acts: Valeris, Good Times Ahead, and Jowls. Again, we went to Denver for Queen, and the first night we ended up at Dead Mouse. I'm gonna go ahead and stick these in. And y'all, I just printed these on regular photo paper. This time I didn't do anything special with them. I could have used photo paper, I could have used sticker paper, and I just went with regular old paper. And I think I'm going to trim this because we don't need some of this. Trim that off. And we're gonna stick that right there. Now, full disclosure, we're women of a certain age. Not that we can't very much have a good time, but we took that shuttle out to Red Rocks and then realized how long the concert actually was, and it didn't end until midnight. We were like, what? So we got back to Union Station and we're walking back to the hotel at 1 a.m. Good memories, good times. But, you know, you do things spur of the moment, and that's what I've discovered is I'm very much a spur of the moment traveler. And I think that's just kind of how my dad raised us. He would have some things planned out when we went places, but he wanted to eat local food. He wanted to go do local things. He wanted to have room to just make spontaneous decisions. And that's exactly what I did on this trip. I'm not sure how much my wallet likes me making the spontaneous decisions, but it's fine. Had a great time, considering, again, like I said, it was the first vacation that I have had in years. And when I say years, y'all, I mean double-digit years for a proper vacation. It's been a while. As a single parent, raising kids, going to school, having a job, I just haven't taken time off for me. And so this has been pretty great to have done and kept a log of it so that I can remember it and look back on it in the future. Alright, so we're still the first day. We haven't gotten out of, this is just Friday, the 3rd of November. Alright, moving on to the 4th, and I got up earlier than my traveling companion. Didn't sleep well, which is fine. And the previous day, as we had been going up and down the free mall bus, which can pretty much get you within walking distance of anything you might want to do in downtown Denver, I kept seeing this clock tower standing out by itself. And so I got up that morning and I was having my coffee and I'd already had some breakfast, and I decided to research it and found out that it used to be part of a department store. And they demolished the department store in the 70s, but the city rallied to save the tower, and it is now listed as historical site, has been preserved. And in the basement of this tower is the Clock Tower Cabaret. I was like, we had looked at possible drag shows Friday night before we landed on Dead Mouse, and they were all sold out. And so we were like, maybe we'll do the Clock Tower Cabaret. We didn't immediately make the decision, but I was just thrilled to find it. The rest of the tower is an event venue. You can have wedding pictures taken behind the clock face and all kind of really cool things. As an event planner, it's occupational hazard that we always want to look at event venues, but we ended up at a place called Syrup for breakfast, where I had the Elvis French toast, which has bananas and peanut butter in it. And then we went to Latimer Square, which is a very touristy thing to do. Spent time there, landed at a place called Wally's Wisconsin Tavern. And while we were at Wally's Tavern, we pulled the trigger and decided, well, let's go see the Clockwork Cabaret. And so here is my little montage. This is the clock tower, and they were doing Chicago versus cabaret, and it is a combination of burlesque and singing and drag, and it was phenomenal. We made the decision while we were at Wally's to buy these tickets. I was trying to buy the tickets and it kept giving me an error message, and so my friend bought the tickets, and then after she sent me the confirmation of the tickets, I had a secondary confirmation pop in. And so we had to call the venue and go, well, now we've got 4 tickets and we only need 2. And they got back to us fairly quickly and definitely refunded one of them. And then they put us at table 3, which was literally right by the stairs at center stage. And I think it was because of the mix-up. There's no other way we got landed with those seats. So we were right on stage. Could not take pictures of the show because, again, Chicago and cabaret are copyrighted. But it was just a phenomenal time. I pulled some of these pictures from their website and their Instagrams because we just had a ball at the Clock Tower Cabaret. I'm going to go ahead and stick this in on this page, and then we're going to talk about the rest of Saturday on the next page. I know that is not the greatest sound to listen to. Oh, that's... Yep, come up. Oh, I told y'all that was permanent. Okay, so we bought our tickets for Clockwork Cabaret while we were at Wally's. We ended up... I wrote side quest. We ended up doing some shopping. There was a Ross directly around the corner from the hotel because we got hot. I had taken these sweaters thinking that I had looked and it was supposed to be in the 60s, and I thought, well, I'll take sweaters with tank tops to wear underneath in case it's warm, and I'll also take some long sleeves to wear underneath in case it's cold because Denver. And then the weather surprised everyone and jumped up into the mid to high 70s, and these sweaters were too hot. I'm not a shopper. I don't love to shop, but we had to take a side quest and do some shopping if we were going to get through the rest of the weekend. And then we went to the hotel. After the hotel, we went back down to Union Station. Actually tried to look at some of the shopping places that were there because we had not done that before. I'm always drawn to a bookstore. There's a place called Tattered Books. It was not a highlight of the trip, I can tell you that. There were next to no books on the shelves. Not sure what that was about. There is a Tattered Books in the airport as well, in Terminal B, which we saw on the way out, and it was fully loaded with books. So, not quite sure what that situation was. But we took the bus that far so that we could then walk across this bridge and go to the neighborhood of Lohi, where we were going to meet my companion's sister and her niece for dinner. But on the way, we took a detour and stopped at Williams and Graham Booksellers, which is not a bookseller's. It is a speakeasy that is hidden behind a bookcase. And it was absolutely phenomenal. And I have a picture of that on my food montage we'll stick in here in a minute. After that, we went to a restaurant called Linger, which is tapas, and had dinner with her sister and her niece. After that, we went down to the Clock Tower Cabaret in time for our show at 9. That pretty much wraps up our day. I am going to put a picture of me and my traveling companion here. I left a space to put in a proper picture, and we're going to go ahead and scoot over to November 5th, which is Sunday, which I wrote is Queen Day. But for now, I'm going to stick this little montage of our dining and drinking adventures. So the Ultrea and Mercantile are in Union Station. That's where we stopped on our first day. Syrup is where we had breakfast the first morning. Thirsty Lion is the location at Union Station where we had to meet the bus to go to Red Rocks. This is Wally's Tavern's logo. And then this is the inside of the Williams and Graham Speakeasy, their logo, one of the drinks. And then our continued dining adventures through the course of our weekend and, a couple days. So 4 days or 5 days, 4 nights. Really, the 5th day was too much. It was too long. But we did not want to go to the concert on Sunday night and then get on a flight at 6 a.m. the next morning because all the flights to Little Rock were early morning on Monday. And so we ended up taking flights on Tuesday, and they were afternoon flights. So we ended up with this extra day to spend, and we were just tired. But it was all good. So there's a lot of dining adventures on here that I haven't talked about yet, but we're just going to go ahead and stick those in here. Got up that day, and again, occupational hazard. We always want to see event venues. The Colorado Convention Center has recently been renovated, and I really wanted to see it. And we found out they were having a Christmas market, which I could have given or taken at that point. The sister and niece of my traveling companion got really excited about that, and they wanted to meet us there Saturday morning. So that is what we did. I do have this ticket for the Denver Christmas show that I'm going to try to fit in here somewhere. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put it because it's huge. I did buy Christmas gifts for my boys while I was there. You just never know what you're going to find. But for me, it was more about looking at the newly renovated convention center. And then we all went back to Union Station. Like I said, we kept ending up in Union Station for a multitude of reasons, because my cousin was flying in to join us for the Queen concert, and she literally was in Denver like less than 18 hours. So she flew in around 1:30. We had a very late lunch at the Jinya Ramen Bar, because I will eat ramen wherever I can eat ramen. And then we went back to rest at the hotel, get ready for the concert, and go to the main event of our trip to Denver, which was the Queen concert. And here I have put in the set list. I pretty much just wrote, I almost have no words. Concert of a lifetime. It was amazing. I was deep in it. That's what my friend had to say. She was like, I had no idea you like Queen that much. I was deep in it. These are some of the pictures that I took. I also threw in some pictures of Freddie just because. This again is a screenshot of my Ticketmaster ticket from my phone, from my Apple Wallet. And then of course the poster for the Rhapsody tour. I have obviously more pictures. There's only so much you can fit into one spread. So we're going to go ahead and stick this in. And again, it was just a moment of a lifetime. Like, I don't know if a concert will ever top it for me. And that's saying a lot. I like a good concert. And I'm trying to think of what I considered the best concert that I had been to prior to this one. It might have been 30 Seconds to Mars and Linkin Park and AFI. It was called the Carnivores Tour. The only time I got to see Chester Bennington of Linkin Park before his suicide. That probably would be next in line now at this point. I think this one has definitively topped all of them. I think Adam Lambert's voice has gotten stronger over the years. He mentioned in the show that he's been singing with Queen now for 10 years, which made me feel very old. Like, really? So that's all I've put in here now. I have tons of video. I have tons more pictures. But for the sake of just documenting in here, I just made this montage to stick in there. And then I have stopped writing on November 6th, which is Monday. And I'm going to keep adding to this. I'm not going to do it in this video. So I need to document Monday and I need to document Tuesday. I guess a couple of things I'm going to do is on this side, this Denver Christmas show thing is very, very large, is maybe stick in a couple of these things, this ephemera that I kept. I'm going to trim this out. So this is my room key. Maybe I'll stick that there. Let's put this Denver Christmas show in here. I'm going to put it in with washi tape. No, I'm going to stick it in. We're just going to commit to it. Make it permanent. Stick it in there. I wish it fit this way. I could probably trim off a little bit of it, but that's fine. I'm just gonna stick that in. And then I'm going to stick this there, which is definitively gonna make this very fat. This is what was handed to us. There was a Home Suites or whatever right next to the True, with, like, they had similar check-in desks with all of this information. It's probably the most useful information card I've ever gotten in the form of a bookmark. I thought that was pretty great. And I'm gonna stick that right on top of there, even though it is not related to the hotel, so that I have that. And then one of the things that we kept doing, there was also a market outside Union Station Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that we were there. And we kept going to see this alpaca lady. With scarves and shawls and hats and whatever. And the funny thing is that when we went to the Denver Christmas show, there were probably 5 to 7 other alpaca vendors, and none of their stuff was like, we both bought things. This is one of the tags that I have, and I'm just gonna stick this in here. It's a headband that I bought. I might put some string on it and stick it in here like a bookmark. So for now, I'm not gonna stick it in, but I am going to keep it and maybe do something more fun with it. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and turn the page, and hopefully I can wrap up Monday and Tuesday here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and stick this here. This is the Capitol. This is the view of Denver from the 16th Street Mall. These are all taken in the Milk District. These are taken from the Art Museum. This is the Big Blue Bear that looks into the Denver Convention Center. The Mile High marker on the steps of Capitol Building, and then the Brown Palace Hotel. Just some other things that we did on Monday and Tuesday as we were trying to kill time. The Milk District is one of those things that I had wanted to go to, and we weren't sure we were going to make it, and it ended up being sort of one of the food and beverage highlights of our trip as well, so we were really glad that we made it there. Hopefully get this in fairly straight. You see, I did print them smaller so that I could just stick them in and I wouldn't have to trim anything once they were in. I was trying to do that the very sort of simple way. So that gets us through, and like, this is gonna bulk up. This is gonna get pretty fat depending on how many trips I put in here. So this gets us through the beginning of Denver, the Dead Mouse concert, the cabaret, more space, and then our food ventures, which really I feel like just saved a lot of space to combine this like this. And how I do these is just by measuring the journal and putting into Canva in centimeters or canvas, and that way I can measure everything that I'm putting in. So as you grab a corner and resize something, it tells you exactly how many centimeters it is if you've got the canvas built in centimeters, so that I can just print these and drop them in. And then this will leave me back here more space as I'm writing to put in some actual images of me and my friends and my cousin as well, because again, I don't want to stick their faces out on the internet for the world to see. And we can wrap up the rest of my Denver trip there. So that took, I don't know, 6 pages for one 4-night trip. But we'll see what comes next. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to document like one-day things in my own town that are important. Like if I go to a concert in my own town, there's plenty of concerts that come through Little Rock. I could have put in when my son and I went to see the touring version of Six, the Broadway show. I could have put that in here as well. That's some of those things that are just like one day, even if it's in my own town. I think this would also be a good place to house it. So there is the wrap up of my trip to Denver. Like we're already starting to Cup. That's what rubber bands are for, am I right? If you like this video, you all know what to do. Please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one.